College football recruiting rankings are a very fluid thing. A lot of fun to look at and a lot of fun to get excited about, but they're far from our gospel as the recruiting industry has had a lot of hits and a lot of misses at the same time. Looking back at the top 10 recruits in the state of California in the 2016 recruiting class is a golden example of this. There's a lot of interesting stories here, and a lot of players whose career didn't really plan out like a lot of people thought it would. In this video, we'll be diving into each player in the top 10 of the 24/7 composite rankings. Coming in at number 10 is Curtis Robinson, a linebacker played at Mater Dei High School who went on to spend his collegiate career with the Stanford Cardinals. Robinson would see game action for the Cardinals as a true freshman in 2016, playing in all 13 games, recording 13 tackles, most of which came on special teams. He would continue this momentum into the 2017 season, recording 23 total tackles, 1.5 of which were for a loss and an interception, while mostly playing on special teams and serving as a backup. Unfortunately, Robinson's momentum would be stalled in 2018 as he was limited to only 2 games due to injuries, and he ended up redshirting on the year. In 2019, Robinson would, however, end up being moved into a starting role, playing in and starting in 11 games, receiving Pac-12 honorable mention while finishing second on the team in tackles with 64. In the crazy 2020 season, Robinson would play in and start all 6 games for the Cardinals, while being named All Pac-12 honorable mention, a team captain, and leading the team in tackles with 44. Robinson would elect not to return to Stanford the following season and would instead head for the NFL draft, where he went undrafted but was signed by the Denver Broncos, played with them very briefly before being released. Robinson would be picked up by the San Francisco 49ers shortly thereafter and is actually still with them to this day and has bounced back and forth between their active roster and the practice squad over the course of the last few years, and as the time of the making of this video, he's currently fighting very hard to remain on the roster. Up next is wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., who I would wager to say is one of the more notable players on this list. Pittman, who was initially committed to UCLA, would wind up decommitting and choosing the USC Trojans over the Oregon Ducks. Pittman would not redshirt in his initial season with the Trojans in 2016, catching 6 passes for 82 yards while appearing in all 13 games. He was also a very solid contributor on special teams, both as a returner and as a coverage player. The following year, Pittman would play in 11 games, starting 6 of them, recording 23 receptions for 404 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was once again a very valuable special teams player as well, being named first team All Pac-12 as a special teams player. He would also have his coming out party in the Pac-12 championship game against Stanford, having recorded 7 catches for 146 yards and 1 touchdown. Pittman would keep the heat up in 2018, catching 41 balls for 758 yards and 6 touchdowns. During his senior year in 2019 is when Pittman would establish his name as one of the best players in all of college football, as he would start in and play in all 13 games for the Trojans while recording 101 catches for 1,275 yards and 11 touchdowns. He would also be named an All-American by a variety of services. Pittman wound up being selected by the Indianapolis Colts in the very early second round of the 2020 NFL Draft, has been a really solid player for the Colts. In fact, he's been a cornerstone player for the Colts, having recorded 336 catches for 3,662 yards, 15 touchdowns in his very young career thus far. Up next is quarterback Malik Henry. Henry was an extremely hyped prospect and would commit to Florida State very early in the process and would still sign with the Seminoles, but his career with the Seminoles did not go as planned at all. Before ever playing a snap for Florida State, Henry would be suspended for violation of team rules and would transfer out. Henry would wind up transferring to Independence Community College, where he'd spend 2 seasons playing in 12 games while throwing for 1,620 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Henry was also featured on the Netflix series Last Chance U, where he did not give off the best impression and was not really a fan favorite. Henry would then transfer to Nevada, only playing in 3 games before he left the team, however. Henry's time on college was over following his Nevada career, and since then he's bounced around some various professional football leagues, including the Indoor Football League, the National Arena League, and most recently the Edmonton Elks of the CFL before being cut, signing with the Albany Firebirds of the Arena Football League. Coming in at 7 is quarterback KJ Costello. Costello, who would sign with Stanford coming out of high school, would redshirt in his initial year in 2016. The following year, in 2017, Costello would show a lot of promise, playing in 11 games, starting 7 of them and throwing for 1,573 yards, 14 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. As a junior in 2018, Costello would impressively be named a captain for Stanford, would start in all 13 games for them, throwing for 3,540 yards, 29 touchdowns. The 3,540 yards was the second most passing yards in school history. This is especially impressive considering Stanford's a school that's produced quarterbacks like Andrew Luck, Kevin Hogan, John Elway, Jim Plunkett. Costello would return in 2019 and once again be named captain, but he was limited to only starting 5 games while struggling with injuries and the fact that Davis Mills took the job over and really ran with it. Costello would wind up transferring to Mississippi State for the 2020 season, was receiving a lot of hype and even being mocked in some first rounds of the 2021 NFL Draft. In the first game of the season, Costello would very much so live up to that hype, lighting up defending national champions LSU, throwing for an SEC record 623 yards, leading the Bulldogs to a victory. Unfortunately, this was about all Costello would do on the years. He'd only throw for 1,267 yards and 6 touchdowns while also tossing 10 interceptions. 5 out of those 6 touchdowns came against LSU. Costello would go on to be undrafted in the NFL draft, but would eventually sign with the Los Angeles Chargers, proceeded to bounce around practice squads for a couple of years, before most recently playing for the Philadelphia Stars before the team folded when the XFL and the USFL merged to form the UFL. Coming in at number 6 is wide receiver Tyler Vaughns. Vaughns would sign with USC out of high school and would redshirt as a true freshman in 2016. In his debut season in 2017, Vaughns would appear in 14 games for the Trojans, starting 10 times, on his way to recording 57 catches, 809 yards, 5 touchdowns, and being named All Pac-12 honorable mention. The following year, Vaughns would put up astonishingly similar numbers, recording 58 catches for 674 yards, 6 touchdowns, and yet again being named All Pac-12 honorable mention. In his final year with USC, Vaughns would appear in all 13 games, starting 11 of them and recording 74 receptions for 912 yards and 6 touchdowns. Despite his productive college career, Vaughns would go undrafted in the NFL draft and would later play on the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squads, and is currently with the Arlington Renegades of the UFL. Coming in at number 5 is linebacker Caleb Kelly, who would go on to sign with the Oklahoma Sooners on National Signing Day. Kelly's collegiate career got off to a really good start. As a true freshman in 2016, he started in 6 of 11 games played in, was named a freshman All-American while recording 24 tackles. He would continue this momentum into 2017, recording 56 total tackles, 3.5 of which were for a loss, 1 sack, on his way to being named All-Big 12 honorable mention. In 2018, Kelly would play in 12 games, but he only started 5, but he would still finish 4th on the team in tackles with 61. He would miss the first 10 games of the 2019 season due to an ACL tear, but would play in the final 4 games, including a college football playoff loss, and he'd end up using a medical redshirt on the year. Kelly would once again tear his ACL again and would miss the entire 2020 season as a result, and will receive another redshirt. Kelly would play in the first 10 games of the 2021 season, but would suffer yet another knee injury. He made 19 tackles on the season, but man, you can't help but just feel really bad for the guy at this point. Kelly never played professional football, but he by all means appears to be winning in life. He's currently on Oklahoma football support staff, being the director of career/professional development, primarily serving as a role to help players off the field. He also recently announced that he's a project manager at Redwood Roofing Company. Up next is the 4th-ranked player in the class. Their player is cornerback Jack Jones. Jones would announce his commitment to USC in an interview with Snoop Dogg, which showed a lot of promise as a true freshman in 2016, playing in all 13 games and recording 13 tackles. He ran it back in 2017, playing in and starting all 14 games for USC. Unfortunately, Jones was dismissed from USC prior to the 2018 season due to academic struggles and ended up transferring to Moorpark College. Jones would wind up transferring to Arizona State for the 2019 season, playing in all 13 games and starting 1. Despite only starting 1 game, Jones still managed to record 45 tackles, 13 pass deflections, and 3 interceptions. It was named All Pac-12 honorable mention. He would go on to only play in 2 games in the 2020 shortened season. He would, however, come back pretty strong for the 2021 season, playing in 11 games while recording 42 tackles for 3 interceptions, receiving All Pac-12 honorable mention honors again. He would go on to get drafted by the New England Patriots in the 4th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. Jones would spend the 2022 and 2023 seasons with the Patriots, served as a starter on and off before being benched and having a role reduced and eventually being waived by the Patriots. Currently, Jones is with the Las Vegas Raiders, where he expects to start this upcoming year. Coming in at 3rd is Jonah Williams, an offensive lineman who signed with Alabama out of high school. Williams was an absolute stud for Bama and wanted to become a starter as a true freshman for a team that had won the national title the year previous. Williams would also receive freshman All-American honors. The following 2 seasons were much of the same for Williams at Bama as he continued the momentum into 2017, being named an All-American and winning a national championship, and in the following year in 2018, being a finalist for the Outland Trophy, the Lombardi Trophy, and being a unanimous All-American. Following the 2018 season, Williams would declare for the 2019 NFL Draft and would get drafted to 11th overall by the Cincinnati Bengals. Williams at times struggled throughout his Bengals career, but he still played in and started all 59 games he suited up with for the Bengals. This past offseason, Williams signed a multi-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals. Coming in at number 2 is defensive lineman Oluwole Betiku. Betiku is originally from Nigeria and moved to the United States as a sophomore in high school. He was initially committed to UCLA before flipping to USC. He'd see action in 5 games from 2016 and did not record a single tackle. He moved to linebacker for the 2017 season and played in 9 games as a backup, recording 2 tackles. He would not see any action in 2018 following an off-season hip surgery. He would graduate from USC in 3 years with a bachelor's degree in international relations and would move on and elect to transfer to Illinois. Betiku had a really solid season for the Illini in 2019, where he played in 10 games, starting 9, recorded 36 tackles, 13 of which were for a loss and 9 were a sack, while also being named third-team All-Big Ten by the media following the season. Betiku would declare for the NFL Draft following the season and would go undrafted and end up signing with the New York Giants before never playing a snap for them, never playing in the NFL at all. And the number 1 player in the state of California in the class of 2016 is linebacker Mike Wallace. Wallace, who was initially committed to USC, will wind up signing with UCLA. During the 2016 season, Wallace had to step away from the UCLA team, taking time off to deal with some personal issues, and he would wind up redshirting. He returned to football for the 2017 season and would serve as a backup linebacker and a special teams player, recording 3 tackles on the season. Wallace did not play in a single game in 2018 due to missing the entire season due to concussions. He reportedly suffered 3 concussions during his time at UCLA and would transfer out following the 2018 season. He reportedly transferred to Utah but was never added to the Utes roster, leading to some speculation that he wasn't medically cleared. Wallace would never play football again, and according to his Instagram, he currently works as a technician at SpaceX. Overall, I hope Wallace is just doing okay. His story is an example of a story of some of the bad things football can do to you. I think one day his story might roll on an entire video on its own. Thank you so much to everybody for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for more.